Hello and welcome to the Discover History YouTube channel, and tonight I've brought in a few objects of archaeology. As you're probably aware, I have a passion for archaeology and have took part in several digs, including the archaeological dig at the Commandery, when that was, I can't remember, 2000 in something, very long time ago now, start of 2000s. And also at the site where the hive is now built, and that's just two of the digs that I've took part in. I enjoy doing it, really, getting my hands dirty, getting a trowel and looking for finds. Anyway, I've got some finds here at the Discover History headquarters, and these are original items, and I thought I'll share them with you this evening. So we've got them in finds bags, as you can see. And I'll take you through them. They are all from the 17th century, so they're all from the 1600s basically. The first one I want to show you is this little disc, which at first glance would look like, for example, a coin. So obviously finding something like that will get you terribly excited. The only problem is when you take it very carefully out the soil, you suddenly realise there is part of a ring on the back, and what that actually is a typical 17th century button. Some of these were made out of lead, some of them were made out of wood, they were made out of all sorts of materials, to be fair. So there is a small metal 17th century button. So I'm going to pop this back in the finds bag. It's so important to keep it in the bag it came in, and so important to look after it basically. The other thing is very, very precious, and that is a solid silver coin. There we go. A fine silver coin. And what this actually is a half a crown from the age of King Charles the First. And as you can see on the front there, we have Carolus, which is the Latin for Charles, and Charles is seen on a horse, whereas on the back you've actually got the royal coat of arms as well. And the interesting thing about this half a crown, which is worth a lot of money at the time, is the fact that the silver is actually been clipped from around the edge. And you do see that with a lot of coins that have been found throughout history, even Anglo-Saxon coins, for example. If you go back to the early medieval, a lot of coins were actually cut up. For example, if something was worth only half the price of that coin, it was cut in half or quartered even. However, by the 17th century, they were trying to stop that. It's one of the reasons why, if you have a look at a modern coin, there are dots going around the edge to prevent coin cutting. But unfortunately, this one has been robbed of its corners. In other words, they've taken the silver off them, and they will melt that down and possibly even make it into another coin. That sort of crime is actually a very horrific one to actually commit, and you could end up being executed for it, because it's a serious thing. You're basically turning one coin into possibly two coins basically. So that's a half a crown. The other items I've got are often found in Worcester, and there's a reason for that. There was actually two battles at Worcester, one in 1642, which is the skirmish that starts the Civil War, and one in 1651. And you're probably thinking, well, what is this find? And it is actually these. There we go. And these are lead musket balls. And the interesting thing about lead, despite them being grey and very, very soft, they do absorb clay and all sorts of rubbish out of the ground. So they do actually take on quite a pale, sometimes white look about them. But they are very distinguishable when you're looking down in the ground. The ones I have came from the river meadows over at Powick. And they were found by John Bennett, who owns the land, and because his family has owned the land for centuries, centuries of farming, they've got a huge collection of these that they've picked up, really. Some of them are not a perfect shape. The reason for that is that's hit something. It may have been a stone, it may have hit a bit of wood. More likely, it could have actually hit armour and it's made it bounce and it's changed shape as it went. They're horrible things, musket balls. But I do have a larger version of a musket ball, and this one is actually made out of iron. And what this actually is a small, and I mean small, cannon shot. And that's it, just of there. And it's this thing, this type of thing, that actually killed the Duke of Hamilton. In the Battle of Worcester, towards the end of the battle, or shall we say in the afternoon, late afternoon, the Duke of Hamilton carried out a counter-attack, really, an attempt to push out of the city, and he led the charge right up London Road. Unfortunately, he was hit in the thigh, and then his men carried him back to his headquarters. And it's an interesting thing, his headquarters was the commandery, not the entire royalist headquarters, but it was the commandery, his billet and headquarters. And sadly, he passed away, he died in that very room in the commandery, known as the Hamilton Room. In the descriptions, it is said that his leg was shattered by a slug shot. And if you have a look at what a slug shot is and then do a little bit of research around it, it's something like that hit him in the leg, and it pretty much ripped his leg off, really. It would have given him a very nasty injury. Cannonballs of that size are really from those small mobile cannons, which I have mentioned in a previous video, the cannons that are often referred to as the robinettes. So archaeology, like I said, is a real passion of mine, and my favourite thing is identifying finds. That's a little specialism of mine, really. I do have different people come to me, often with all sorts of objects, and they ask me, what do you think this is? We always say, look after the objects that you find. Like I said, if you're in the garden and you've come across bits of clay pipe, which I also mentioned in a previous video, wash them, dry them, and look after them. If you can, bag them up and put them somewhere very, very safe. Now, if you have found things at home and you would like to share them with us on here, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter. And if you don't know what they are, I am quite happy giving it a go at trying to identify those objects. So a little task for you, if you have found something in the past and you want them identified, just let me know. Let me know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or on here, and I'll give it a go. Like I said, I do collect all sorts of things, and I love identifying them. Now, just before I go, I want you to identify something for me. I know what they are, but in a way, it's going to be a bit like a mystery object. It's Friday after all, so let's have a bit of Friday fun. I've got two objects, and they're made of lead, and I want you to tell me what these are. I'll show them in turn. There's the first one, and there's the second one. So the first one is very much like a little cup, so we could hold it like that. Maybe it's a child's cup and saucer, made of lead, remember, but the little ears on it, I hope you can see that, has little holes in them. So what is that object? The other one is very similar, so it's made out of lead, but this time it has some sort of cone attached to the top. And the interesting thing is you can actually see all the way through. So even though I've showed you a couple of finds, and these finds are local, not all of them, but most of them are local, I want you to identify these two things for me. But remember, if you've got anything at home that you want identifying, let me know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or on here. Anyway, have a good weekend. We'll see you tomorrow with another video. Stay safe and have a good evening. Bye bye.